with your host, Adam Lubin.
Hey, what's up guys, Adam here, and this is going to be dual camera smartphones explained. So as more and more flagship phones are being released, we're starting to see the implementation of the dual cameras being placed at the back of the smartphone. Now this is not a completely new phenomenon because back in 2011, HTC produced a phone called the Evo, which was the first smartphone to have dual cameras on the back. Now the phone itself had two identical rear-facing cameras and they were positioned at slightly different angles, so when you went ahead and took a photograph, it would actually angle it in such a way that it would produce a 3D effect. Now this also required you to wear 3D glasses, and it was almost introduced at a time when the whole idea of 3D was becoming more of a gimmick rather than anything that would be productive. So the phone didn't really get off to a great start, and that is why we didn't see many other manufacturers also taking on the idea of dual camera smartphones. So now in more recent times, the whole idea of dual camera smartphones is starting to go down two separate paths. So the first path is having two cameras at the back of the smartphone to produce an overall better image, and again HTC was the first one to jump on the bandwagon with the HTC M8, and they had two cameras at the back of the phone. So you had the main camera and you also had a secondary camera which was used to create what was known as a shadow depth of field look or a bokeh effect, which is quite difficult to do on a smartphone, but they were able to use software to go ahead and create this effect using the actual built-in software produced by HTC. So I think that idea that HTC came to create the whole shadow of the field look on a smartphone camera was actually a pretty good idea. While it didn't really work all the time, there was a few images where you can actually see a bit of glitching going on within the whole idea of trying to create the bokeh effect, but I'd say 9 times out of 10 the images turned out fairly well. So another company to jump on the dual camera bandwagon was Huawei, and they came out with their Huawei P9. Now the P9 actually had its main camera and it had a secondary camera which was a monochromatic camera which captured more of the mid and darker tones. It was more of a black and white camera, and those two cameras would work in conjunction with each other to produce a much better and a much more enhanced image. So that was another good idea that I actually introduced, and I actually like the idea of having a better quality synchronization of cameras on a smartphone. I think it's always going to produce a better image quality, so that was definitely a good idea from Huawei, and that has been another way to actually introduce this whole idea of dual camera smartphones. So moving on now to the second path that dual camera smartphones have actually taken, that is to do with the actual optics of each lens. So starting off with LG, now the G5 was actually one of the first phones to introduce this, as it allows you to have a wide angle lens as well as a telephoto lens. So I'd say the wide angle lens could be anywhere between 16mm and I'd say around about 18mm. I'm not exactly too sure on the figures, but more of the telephoto lens is probably around about 35mm to 50mm, and it allows you to go ahead and simultaneously switch between cameras whilst in either photo mode or video mode. So that allows you to get rid of having to use that awful digital zoom with most smartphones. So you're able to go ahead and actually switch cameras without having to physically zoom using the digital zoom, so you're able to get a lot better image and video quality by using the two separate cameras rather than using the bog standard digital zoom that you get in most smartphones. So more recently I've had the release of the iPhone 7 Plus, again a dual camera smartphone, and it adopts the same principles as the LG G5. It has a wide angle lens and it also has a telephoto lens. Now the difference with this is that it almost uses like digital zoom effect to actually zoom from the wide angle lens to the telephoto lens smoothly, so it's almost gives you the illusion that you're using a camera that has optical focus or optical zoom, more to say, rather than just simply just directly switching from one focal length to the other, because it almost gives the illusion that you're just jumping from one focal length to the other and there's no real gradual zoom. So it almost gives you the illusion that you're using optical zoom even though you're really using digital zoom. Be able to zoom from one focal length, which is going to be the wide angle lens, the telephoto lens, or vice versa. And I know I kind of did a rant on the iPhone 7 in my last video, so it's kind of ironic that I'm actually bringing it up in good light today, but that's actually been a good feature of the iPhone 7 Plus with its implementation of dual cameras. Now I actually think that having a dual camera smartphone is a fairly good idea because there's only so much you can actually do with having a single smartphone camera on the back. And I know a few people are definitely going to criticize that idea, but I think it's slowly going to start to bridge the gap between taking pictures on a smartphone and taking pictures on, say, a bridging camera or a DSLR camera. I just think having the dual camera system on the back of a smartphone is going to allow users of the smartphone to try and get more of the features that you would expect on a more higher end camera without having to push all of that information through a single camera, because as we know, most of the sensors and information when it comes to the camera on a smartphone are fairly limited. So it also always helps to try and get as much quality within the actual optics of the cameras so you can get a better image produced on the other end. So anyway guys, that's pretty much been dual camera smartphones explained. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you found it useful. So anyway guys, it's been Adam here. Thank you for watching, take care, and of course I'll see you guys in the next tech video. Bye for now.